From boat to belly, a chain approach to quality, safety and hygiene for the Australian seafood industry. The seafood industry, part of Australia's food industry, involves many different people and processes in getting the seafood from boat to belly. It includes the catching, culturing, farming, harvesting, processing, storing, transporting, marketing and selling of fish and seafood. Because the seafood industry is changing dramatically, it is essential that people involved in this industry invest time, money and effort into workplace training. This video will highlight best practice in workplace safety, hygiene and sanitation and product quality. Everyone in the industry, from catch to retail, has a role to play in ensuring that the best possible seafood product reaches the consumer here in Australia and overseas. I have with me Mr. Ross Jackson from the law firm Maddock, Loney and Chisholm. Ross is a partner and has had over 10 years' experience in food safety issues. Ross, prevention makes good business sense. Can you elaborate on this in relation to food quality and workplace safety?
Good business is all about maximising opportunity and minimising risk. How do we go about minimising our risk in the seafood industry? Well, it's all about having a system and sticking to it. That applies equally whether we're talking about producing safe food or keeping our workplace safe for ourselves, our workers and our customers. At each stage, it's necessary to analyse where are the risk areas, what risks do they involve, how do we minimise those risks, then how do we show, if later we do have a problem, that we've done this. We do it by documenting our process. We do it by implementing the process consistently and keeping a documented record of how we've gone about implementing that process.
What are the benefits of adopting best practices in the seafood industry?
If you adopt best practice, that means you're as good as anybody else in the industry. That means that you have the best chance of being as profitable as you can be. You won't be spending time defending litigation. You won't be spending time trying to work out why your particular product was poor quality in a particular instance, because it's predictable. You've got a process, you've documented the process, it's a system, and therefore the risk is minimised. If, on the other hand, you have to spend time working out why you have a problem, that's time you could have been making money.
That's interesting, Ross. Can you tell us what is the importance of quality control in customer dissatisfaction and possible litigation?
Well, most of the serious prosecutions that I've dealt with over the years have involved bad habits becoming the cultural norm of the business, rather than someone setting out to deliberately sell poor quality product to the public. This means that it happens over time without the proprietor really noticing. For example, you may have a very good quality control process for inside your shop that deals with the temperature control of the fish in the display cabinet, that looks after a clean and well-run cool room, but it forgets about when the product is arriving at the store. It forgets about what we call left at the door problems. Have you got a system that deals with keeping strict monitoring over temperature and time of product when it first arrives at your store? The best defence to an action in court is if you can show that you have a consistently maintained, documented, predictable quality control system. And that system takes all reasonable precautions that you can be expected to take against this sort of thing happening.
Safety is no accident. It is the result of everyone in the industry understanding the risks and preventing injuries. Important components in maintaining an injury-free workplace are housekeeping, fire safety, electrical safety, personal protective equipment, personal protective practices, and basic first aid. Good housekeeping and general caution are key ways to avoid accidents such as slips, trips and falls. To prevent injuries, maintain floor coverings in good condition. Keep designated walkways and doorways clear. Store and handle potential hazardous chemicals safely, and minimize water on the floor and keep the floor clean. Conduct regular fire drills. Make sure everyone in the workplace is aware of the location of fire alarms, exits and fire extinguishers. Pay attention to safety signs. They are there to protect your health, prevent accidents and enhance safety at work. Be sure the work surface is dry before operating electrical devices. Disconnect appliances and equipment from the plug after use. Replace all frayed or damaged cords immediately. Wear personal protective equipment suitable for the tasks you conduct in the workplace. This minimises the risk of injury to workers and reduces the contamination of seafood products. Look after your personal protective equipment. Keep it clean, dry and in good repair. On any given day, a worker may be involved in the actions of lifting, pushing, carrying and holding. These activities may involve awkward posture and repetitive actions. Incorrect lifting accounts for almost 80% of all injuries in the workplace, including muscular strains and sprains. Avoid twisting your spine when carrying the load. Where possible, lighten the heavy load by dividing the contents into 2 or more containers. The correct way to lift is to use your legs. Bend your knees, power upwards with your legs, hug the load as close to your body as possible, and keep your feet, knees and body pointed in the same direction while you lift. Workers in confined spaces, such as freezer rooms, need to be aware of the hazards of exposure to the cold and the possible escape of refrigerant gas. Safe practices include informing someone that you are working in the freezer, using the buddy system where possible, ensuring that the alarm system is working. When working outdoors, be sun smart and reduce the risks of skin cancer by wearing a hat that shades your face, neck and eyes, protecting your eyes with wraparound sunglasses, regularly applying at least 15+ sunscreen to all exposed skin, and wear a long sleeve shirt. Spoilage occurs as a combination of a rise in temperature and poor handling. Fish begins to spoil as soon as it is caught because of changes caused by bacteria, enzymes and oxygen. Bacteria invades the flesh of fish and shellfish through the gills, blood vessels, skin and gut, where they grow and multiply. If food poisoning bacteria are present, they make people very sick, even if the fish or seafood has not spoiled. Enzymes break down the flesh, causing the flesh to soften. Oxygen in the air attacks the oils in fish and seafood, causing rancidity, off odours and off flavours. This especially happens in fatty fish such as salmon and mackerel. To thaw seafood product, plan ahead. Either thaw from the freezer to the chiller or thaw under cold running water. Contamination is the presence of foreign microorganisms or objects in the seafood. Cross-contamination is the transfer of bacteria from one surface to another by hands equipment and utensils, other foods, or the environment. Correct storage methods and techniques will reduce the likelihood of cross-contamination between products. Store all waste in sealed rubbish containers and remove rubbish often. Fish guts and fish heads may need to be stored frozen whilst awaiting removal. Animals carry bacteria and disease. Keep animals and pets away from all seafood areas, including fishing boats. Cleaning is the physical removal of debris such as dirt, soil, food particles, grease and oil. Sanitation is the removal of bacteria, viruses and mould. To clean and sanitize an area, you need to use a detergent to remove grease or other debris, a sanitizer to kill bacteria, use hot water above 70 degrees Celsius or a chemical solution, a cleaning schedule outlining when the cleaning tasks are to be done, by whom and which cleaning agents to use. Ensure that you have a good supply of suitable cleaning equipment that is kept in good condition. Always buy your chemical and cleaning solutions from a reputable supplier who will supply them with a proper label from the manufacturer. The label identifies the chemical content, provides safety instructions, and describes how to prepare the strength of the solution according to the task needed. For your safety when using chemicals, always follow the manufacturer's instructions on the labels. A disinfectant is only appropriate in toilets or changing room areas. Remember to clean, not lean. Spend your time cleaning, not leaning or chatting. Hand washing is a very important practice to prevent food contamination and food poisoning. To wash your hands, it is essential to have a hand-free basin with hot and cold water, soap, and single-use disposable paper towels. If your hands are dried under an air dryer, do not recontaminate your hands by wiping them on your clothing. Wash your hands before starting work and handling raw or cooked products. Wash your hands after a break or change in your work area, visiting the toilet, using a handkerchief or nasal tissue, touching ears, nose, hair or mouth, eating, smoking, handling raw products and handling waste material. Other good personal hygiene practices include wearing clean washable overalls, never smoking, chewing gum, eating or drinking while working, keeping your hair tidy and restrained, covering cuts and sores with an appropriate waterproof bandage. The only way to maintain seafood quality is to keep seafood at the correct storage temperature. Temperature control slows down bacterial growth and delays seafood spoilage. Fresh fish and seafood must be chilled to 1 degree Celsius as soon as it is caught, and then kept at this chilled temperature from the boat through to the retail outlet. No one in the handling process must break the cold temperature chain of 1 degree Celsius. Record the temperature in a logbook. Some ice must always be left covering the fish to ensure that the chilling temperature of the fish is maintained and that the fish is not in the process of warming up. If the cold chain is broken, then the seafood shelf life will be reduced. For example, fresh fish held at 1 degree Celsius will remain edible for over 12 days. Fresh fish held at 5 degrees Celsius will remain edible for 5 days. A cold chain that is broken, allowing the temperature of the fish to creep up from 0 to 10 degrees Celsius, will result in a loss of shelf life. As soon as there is a break in the cold chain, bacteria and enzyme activity increases, causing irreversible spoilage. To take correct temperature readings of seafood products and cold storage equipment, always use a calibrated digital thermometer to give an instant response.
The latest technology available is the non-contact infrared. This particular instrument can take accurate readings in half a second. For instance, if we want to take the measurement of this fish here, 0.8 degrees C, that quick. With this sort of instrument you can scan 100% of your product, and where there's a problem you can then use the traditional insertion probe product. With this type of instrument you can insert it into the fish and accurately determine the core temperature. It can also be used to check the accuracy of our non-contact infrared. This is done by inserting it into a comparator. We know that the temperature of the comparator, which is coming up on the digital readout, we take a reading, 20.9, 20.9. We know our instruments are accurate.
Wild catch fishing is a dangerous business with a poor safety record. Complacency with common sense systems is a regular human error. Fishing operators are not immune to this. Seaworthiness of the vessel, weather reports, lookouts, radio knowledge and regular reporting of whereabouts are areas which are critical and yet can be taken for granted. Make certain that you have a full range of safety equipment and that everyone aboard knows where it is stored and how to use it. Logging mustering basics and regular fire and safety drills are excellent methods of ensuring that safety is not forgotten. Fishing operators and aquaculturists are the first persons in the cold chain. The best way to chill fresh fish after catching or harvesting is with melting ice at 1 degree Celsius made from drinking quality standard fresh water. Saltwater ice is not recommended for chilling fish because saltwater freezes at about -3 degrees Celsius. At that temperature, fish begins to freeze, causing a downgrading of the seafood product. Seafood must be landed at 1 degree Celsius and unloaded quickly with minimal damage to the catch. If the fish is weighed on the wharf, the process must be carried out quickly and the fish re-iced before transport. Aquaculture techniques allow fish and shellfish to grow in controlled environments. To avoid potential food poisoning, fish and seafood farmers should ensure that water quality is always maintained and correct handling and storage methods are used for raw and preserved seafood. The Australian Quarantine Inspection Service regulates the import and export of fish and fish products in Australia.
The Australian Quarantine Service regulates imports of seafood for two main reasons. The first is to prevent the entry of exotic pests and disease that may be associated with seafood, and the other is really a food safety standards that we set to ensure food safety for food products entering the country. What we do is have a testing regime for food entering the country to make sure it's safe for human consumption, and we also make sure that the entry of pests and diseases are minimised by ensuring that any seafood imported is actually dead, so any crustaceans and molluscs must be dead on arrival. And the other problem is the salmon imports, and salmon can carry Whirling's disease, which is a disease we don't have in Australia. So that's why we control the imports of salmon.
Tell me, what does an importer need to do as far as importing seafood into Australia?
In most cases you will need a permit to import, so there's an application process to go through there. But when the goods arrive, you also need to go through a clearance process which requires lodging a quarantine entry, arranging for an inspection if we deem it necessary, and there is an administrative process to take payment for those inspections. But first of all, speak to us.
Now, Colin, we've spoken about the importers and the imports. Tell me, what does an exporter need to do and know as far as exporting product from Australia?
Again, AQUIS regulate the export of seafood products as part of our obligations under the World Trade Organisation. The main principle there being that we must meet importing country requirements for their quarantine regulations. The standards that we set are really based on hygiene, and what the exporter first needs to do is to have a registered establishment. What we will do is audit their system, ensure that the quality standards are maintained, ensure that the product meets the importing country requirements before it's exported, and we will certify and attest to the standard of the product before it leaves.
When large quantities of fish are handled, the best practice is to label boxes for identification and stock control. Labels should include the date of the catch, the date of arrival in port, the date received by the auctioneer or wholesaler, the name of the supplier, and the quality grade of the product. On arrival at the wholesaler or auctioneer's premises, inspect the seafood shipment. Reject any deliveries where the product has an off odour, poor appearance, or a temperature above 1 degree Celsius. Remember to keep the cold chain temperature unbroken. During processing and manufacturing stages, keep raw and cooked products separate. Ensure correct personal hygiene practices. Ensure correct food handling and hygiene techniques. Label packed products correctly, and think safety and work safely. During transportation from the boat or the aquaculture farm to the wholesale market and to the processing and manufacturing plant, the seafood product can deteriorate in quality due to time and temperature abuse, transporting stress, and poor hygiene. During transportation, all seafood products should be maintained at 1 degree Celsius. This is best achieved in refrigerated vehicles. Frozen products must be stored and transported at -18 degrees Celsius. Like fresh chilled products, frozen seafood must not have the cold temperature chain broken. While seafood is in cold storage, ensure that the freezer alarm is operative. Wear appropriate personal protective clothing. Carry out proper stock rotation. Keep the product moving, first in, first out. Have good air circulation in the freezer room by not overloading. Avoid product damage from careless forklift practices. Seafood may be offered for sale alive, fresh or frozen.
When buying for retail, buy fish and shellfish products from a reputable supplier.
Inspect deliveries to ensure that the supply has arrived at the correct temperature. Place frozen seafood into freezer rooms or units as soon as it arrives at the premises.
If any parts of the delivery have thawed out during transportation, place these under refrigeration and sell these first, and reject and return any products that do not meet quality criteria. It is now up to the retailer to take on the responsibility of maintaining seafood quality.
To achieve this, keep fish cold at 1 degree Celsius. Avoid overloading the display unit. Keep whole fish and fish fillets to no more than 2 layers deep. Store seafood on plastic trays or bowls rather than directly on the ice. Correctly label fish products using appropriate labelling tags placed in the ice or the garnish. Use correct marketing names to identify fish. Keep ready-to-eat products such as smoked trout, cooked prawns and sushi separate from fresh fish. Prevent cross-contamination by using colour-coded utensils and equipment. Label thawed seafood with words such as previously frozen to alert customers not to refreeze the product. Thaw only enough seafood to sell during trading hours. Throw away any leftovers.
This is the beginning of your quality and safety approach to your business. Apply what you have learned and remember, for premium quality seafood, use refrigeration or plenty of ice throughout all stages. Minimise handling, inspect and check all deliveries, and keep seafood cold. For further assistance, please contact your state fishing organisation, your state training body, or Sequel.
This project was made possible by funding from the Commonwealth Workplace English Language and Literacy Program through the Australian National Training Authority.